Here we are, episode 29? 29 of Strong and Petty. Yeah, we're down one man today. Devin's off doing whatever it is that Devin does during the week on a Monday afternoon, I guess.
Not committing to
whatever the fuck that could be. I couldn't even begin to guess.
Yeah.
So you're here with your host, Tyler and Dave, and Dolly's wandering around, and Beezy behind the camera there.
With a sharp do.
Thanks.
Yeah, looking good.
Yeah, it's the wife did my haircut, and she did a great job. So
one day when you're allowed in school zones, we're gonna put you on camera.
hey, one day.
My head is to be alive if you can't do that.
I'm right between two, so he has to come guy incognito.
Fuck, there's nothing that I love more than like a full sugar drink.
Really?
Of any kind. Soda or energy drink or whatever. I fucking love it. I'm trying to gain weight still, so I can justify it with that.
I think it's been so long for me that I don't like the taste.
Really? Oh fuck! I and especially after like if I have like a competition or whatever, I'm really depleted. That's when I'm just like, I'll get one on the way, or say after events at Devin's place.
Yeah.
I'll stop in St. Pierre on the way home, and I'll be like, I'll just treat myself to a little Orange Crush here or whatever. And then before I get home, I'll stop at another gas station and buy another. Like it's like a.
That's impressive.
Like, I can't. Like, but it's actually like, it's like an addiction thing. It's crazy. Like I need to have it at that point.
I think like I'm actually at the point where I'll take brain cancer over diabetes.
Yeah, it could very well be.
Kill me way faster.
Because speaking of like I'm still in weight gain mode because I said last show that I have another potential competition coming up, and it's been verified now that I will be going to Cuba to compete.
Not bad.
Yeah, so they've done it a couple times with the pro circuit here in Canada. JF and Mike Saunders have some sort of a connection in Cuba. I couldn't begin to guess what that would be, but
yeah.
I won't speculate too much. But they so a resort. I don't know. A resort has us out there, and then we compete for 2 days, and then we get a week for free in the resort.
Just picture JF always just wearing a poppy everywhere.
Yeah. It's gonna be so we get to spend a week. We get a +1s. We get to all bring our girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, what have you, and it's an all-inclusive resort. We get to spend a weekend, so it's quite a perk event.
It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it too. So that's in November, so I'm looking forward to that one. And it's like really weird events where it makes me think that it's like, what do they have there already, like in Cuba?
Yeah.
Because it's like bench press for reps, which I've never seen before in my life in a strongman competition.
Maybe in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah, it's like not in my lifetime, I should say, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, like not that I've competed in or anything, so that's for sure. So gotta brush off the bench press a little bit in the next few weeks and see how that goes, which I'm sure is not very good. I don't know yet. That's a very typical pro circuit, especially JF kind of thing, which is we'll find out when we get there. And really is
that's funny. I mean, because if you want to train for it, if it's 315 or if it's 405 or if it's 495, those are all very different ways of training.
Exactly.
And you could do 30 at 405
Right.
and maybe only get 5 at 495.
Right.
But if you trained, you could get 9 at 495, and that
Exactly.
could be the difference between
So
second, third, and last.
I'm gonna assume heavy. I'm gonna go heavy, and that just err on the side of caution. The circuit shows are all heavy, and these guys. And there's a lot of good, like a lot of the Quebec guys. Not only good strongmen, they're also a lot of them are good power lifters too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that there's going to be north of 400. I would think. I don't know for sure, but I would think so. So I'm going to train.
It has to be.
Yeah, I would think so. I'm going to train for it as such. And there's like a tug of war event, which, man, everyone in the circuit is so much heavier than me. Like I'm 305 pounds, and I'm like a light guy on the circuit. You know what I mean? So a tug of war is not going to be in my favor for that one.
A lot of stuff it's technical, even if you're smaller.
Yeah.
Tug of war is just you anchor your fat ass down, and it's like you can move me or you can't.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping that I can, and it's funny because like one of the only guys who's smaller than me in the circuit just won Canada's Strongest Man this year. So I can't even say that I hope I get him in it or whatever because he's a fucking monster. Yeah. But so I'm looking forward to that one. It'll be fun. And other ones were like like a throwing of like a lot of sandbag stuff. So a lot of things that you could bring to the beach and fill up with sand. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're
Can you throw this on a plane? How many can you do in a minute?
So we're transporting sandbags for some reason, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Something weird, something different.
So is it less of a competition and more of like a display?
I'm gonna call it somewhere in between the two things. I think it's a competition. Like,
obviously, you're all going to compete.
There's a winner and there's a loser, and there's like prize for the first ones.
Yeah.
For the first people, but I think that we're all kind of going into this with the understanding that it's like the regular season is over, and this is an extra show, as it were. You know what I mean? But we're all very thankful for the opportunity to go and, you say you competed in a new country and.
I'd say regardless.
Yeah, well, it was kind of shitty timing because I had my cousin's wedding in Mexico the same week.
Oh,
The
jeez.
same fucking week, and I've never in my adult life I've never been on like a hot weather vacation like that.
Really?
And it was two in the same.
Oh,
it was unreal.
But you're doing the competition.
But I'm doing the competition. Yeah, that's
a real man.
That's what we talked about before.
Yeah.
Where it's like I've missed very.
We literally had that. You manifested this.
Yeah, I think I did. I think you might be right. I said before that I missed weddings and funerals and all that shit, and then I get to miss one more. But luckily, everyone in my family is very understanding.
You walk the walk. I respect that.
Well, that's if nothing else. I said I would do it, and I'm definitely doing it.
For all we know, Devin's at a wedding right now.
Absolutely. couldn't even skip a Monday afternoon wedding. But yeah, because I felt bad mostly for that because my parents really, because they were like looking forward to having an opportunity for us all to be together and whatever, right? And I was just like, but when I told them, they were just like, well, you have to go do that.
Yeah.
And they're very understanding about that. They've been that way since all the way back to wrestling, where it's like if I get an opportunity that's like a very rare, cool opportunity like that, you just got to take it.
Yeah, 100%.
I've been to plenty of cousins' weddings before and never to a competition in Cuba. So
yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it.
Resort life is great, especially if you're trying to eat.
Right.
You can't beat resort life.
See, apparently though, Cuba, because I say apparently, I've been to Cuba. I went there when I was 16 with my family for Christmas. Yeah. And I didn't really notice this because I was 16. I didn't give a shit. But apparently the food's really bad there. Like even in the resorts.
In Cuba?
Yeah, it's just sort of a known thing that like the food, like you go to Mexico, the food's really good, and if you go to Cuba, it's just I don't know if it's like shipping issues or whatever it might be, but it's just not great. But I don't really give a fuck about that. I plan on consuming a lot more alcohol than I'm going to consume food anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me.
I have a strict resort routine.
Oh yeah.
I get up regardless of what I did the night before. I'm up at 6 and I go to the gym,
right?
Because it gets too hot,
right?
And it's kind of just about starting my day. I'm not trying to be like, hey, I'm the guy that works out on vacation. It's more about just starting my day, and then I have breakfast alone. And no matter what resort you go to, there's an omelet station.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like omelet and fruit, and just get that in your stomach. Have some alone time because your day is always filled socializing.
Constantly, yeah, every minute of it, right?
Yeah. Then either coffee and Bailey's or a Black Russian. Grab same drink for who's ever in my room with me. Go get them, have a drink, they get ready, and then go have a second breakfast.
There you go. Yeah.
and it's like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've eaten twice.
You've worked out, gotten 2 meals in. Like, you're doing pretty good for vacation at that point. Yeah. That's true. My phone is, I'm going to put this away. My phone's fucking blowing up because Sean Hayes and his partner made a group chat with Gian and me, and the 2 girls are planning the trip, so it's just been going fucking.
Oh, okay.
It's just been blowing up the whole time with their inane bullshit. So I'm gonna put that over here. But yeah, no, I'm excited for that one. That will be the actual and it'll be a really nice final thing of the year.
Yeah,
because there's no more competitions after that. There's no more organizing competitions after that. Like I've been done competing for a little bit now, but I still have to think about Deadlift for Dreams. Still have to think about nationals coming up and stuff. And so when that's done, it'll finally be nothing till Christmas, and then to the next year after that, of course. But the Cuba thing will be I'm trying to think what the other events were. There's another strange one in there that was. They said stone load, and I'm willing to bet it'll be a natural stone load from things they just found on the beach. That one too. I doubt very much they have Atlas stones in Cuba, but we'll find out.
Sorry, every time you say Sean Hayes, this is who I think of from Will and Grace.
You know what's funny is
I'm like, you're in a group chat with.
they did,
and you said his partner.
Yeah,
and he's gay.
So
I was like, just using the word partner is more ambiguous. And I was like, why are you in a chat group with Sean Hayes?
There was maybe it was him. I don't know, but there was a No, it wouldn't have been him. There was a bit that this guy who was filling in for, say, like Colbert or something. It was like a night show guy, evening show guy, and he did his name was Sean Hayes. And he did this bit in his monologue where he was like, "Oh, I'm not this Sean Hayes, and I'm not that Sean Hayes." He's like, "And I'm not Canadian pro strongman Sean Hayes." And he had a picture of him on the TV. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
And then the guy tried to do a bit about how like giving birth to Sean would have blown out his mom's pussy, but he kind of made it sound like Sean is just fucking his mom. He's like, my mom, she would be destroyed after that, or something to that effect. And I was like, yeah, Sean, you fucking lay that thing out.
What a name drop, though.
Yeah, it was really funny. I'll try to find it and we'll send it to the page and they can share it because it's really, really funny. And it was just like, I'm sure that it blew his fucking mind to see that.
Yeah.
Sean is one of the guys for anybody who's just not aware. Sean Hayes is one of the pros or one of 3 pros, I believe, right now, pro men from BC, and he's one of the big dogs. He's podiumed at CSM, and he's very, very strong and very, very good. Done the Shaw Open, and very, very good competitor. If anyone doesn't know him, and he produces amazing competitors too. Like he's got a bunch of people coming out of his gym, which is his garage, and there's one competing as Canada's Strongest Woman, and then there's a bunch that are doing amateur nationals and are expected to do very well and stuff. So doing big things over there in BC. Very, very happy to have those guys over there coming in. And they're also party animals too, which I can really appreciate.
It's good life balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It took a little while to find that because a lot of the guys are like social and they're great and that's awesome. But I'm used to like wrestling, where it's like we're constantly looking for like, okay, where's the next party? What's next? What's going on? What's after this? And we went to Sean's and crew's Airbnb after Westerns maybe. And we were there till like 4:30 a.m. just drinking and whatever, right? And I was like, this is exactly what I was looking for. Like, this is what I needed.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to touch on a little bit here, without getting too much into the politics of it or anything, but it is like a big news thing that's happening right now with our strongman stuff. Is Strongman Corp Canada has introduced is in the process of introducing like an evolving policy right now. We'll call it.
Yeah.
Of okay, I'm trying to think of a way to word this. That's not going to be whatever, but. So it's a policy that they're trying to.
You say the word retarded every episode. We're still around. I think you're safe.
I'm evolving and changing too. But we're trying to. They're implementing a policy right now that goes hand in that does 2 things at the same time. It protects the integrity of women's sports and the women who are competing and the ability to progress and get better and excel in their sports, while at the same time making sure that there's like a level of inclusion for everybody who wants to compete in strength sports, which is I think is if not equally important, it's very important as well. So we've seen like a lot. Obviously, there's been a little bit of a backlash to this because what they're trying to do is implement like what they would call like an open gender division, basically.
Yeah,
where anyone can do it. You can do it. I can do it. BZ could do it, and then
still suck.
Yeah, exactly, and get dominated. But basically, the rule is that if anybody can compete in there, and anybody who's not competing with their observed sex at birth, which I think is the best way to put it, would compete in there. That they can compete as their observed sex at birth, or they can compete in this open division. Naturally, that's not going to make everybody happy. There's no way you could. There's no possible way that this is going to be like cover all the ground for everybody. But I do think, as far as plans go, this is probably one of the better ones that I've heard. We're all familiar with like Leah Thomas, like the swimmer. I'm sure you've heard, right? Where that was like a pretty like stark one where it's like, okay, something has to be done here immediately. Yeah. Because this is affecting women who are working their asses off for this. And fortunately, the policy change to that was basically just that like no trans people can compete in whatever level of swimming, that NCAA, I guess. I'm not sure what level it was, but that's what that became, and that was something specifically that the heads of SCC were like, that's not what we're interested in doing. This isn't about exclusion. It's not about keeping people out. It's about getting more people in, but making sure that everybody is competing in as level of a playing ground as you can get, right? Like nothing's going to ever be completely 100% fair.
Yeah.
But
that honestly sounds like a very reasonable way to do it. Now the problem is that competing as your observed birth gender, you're gonna have maybe 10 years of shows where there's 1 or 2 people competing,
right?
And if they're competing, those are people that want to compete, and they're not really competing; they're entering and winning,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the If you want to enter something and win and do nothing, go into powerlifting.
If you want to guarantee that you win something, go into powerlifting.
But that really sounds like a fair way to do it.
And also I'll take a moment just to say, like, huge. I don't know if either of you guys saw the video that they put out on Strongman Canada, but it was just Sam Beliveau talking to the camera, being very vulnerable and open, and speaking very bluntly about the whole thing. And I have so much respect for her for doing that, because first of all, you're really putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Because now you're the face of this decision, even though she's not. She's just somebody who helped to make one of the decisions. There's lots of people who are behind the decision, but she put herself out there as the person who's gonna get all the fucking DMs, and you better believe that she did. You know, all these people who care so much about inclusion and safe spaces and all that stuff. Boy, oh boy, that changes when they get up in somebody's DM who disagrees with them. But either way, so that I just want to say respect to Sam for taking the time to do that, because that's a very challenging stance to take on that. And I think that it's the right one. And we're even now, like, me and Devin, being like the Manitoba reps for SCC, are in this group chat with all the other reps, and we are like today they were sending us messages being like, what about this? How about if we change it to this? What does this make more sense to you guys? And we're trying to kind of run this thing through this filter 1,000 times to see what's sort of left afterwards, right? Yeah. And eventually we're gonna end up with something that, again, it won't please everybody, because that's just completely impossible. There's some people who don't want to be pleased. I firmly believe that.
I agree.
But I think the vast majority of people who are looking for like a rational, as much of a win-win as we can get. I don't know that we'll necessarily get like a complete 100% win-win for everybody, but as close as we can get to that, I think that we're. And like I said, what I was saying with the swimming thing though is that what they just said was that there's no.
That's a snap judgment,
right?
And any organization, when you're faced with a decision like that,
right?
99% of the time you're going to make the wrong one,
right? And I don't envy anybody who has to make those decisions.
You're absolutely handcuffed.
Yeah. And so for them to be like, we're gonna actually make sure that we have a spot for them to compete. I think a lot of people are choosing to see this as like some sort of like regressive move, but it's actually pretty. I mean, in my mind, it's pretty progressive.
I think so too.
Yeah, and I I know the big thing is that because I'm not part of that community, I shouldn't speak on it and whatever bullshit. But it's like, just speaking as somebody who has a brain that operates, I think that it makes sense to me. So
here's another problem. Sorry, we're done.
No, yeah, please.
Everything that's come up in the news, powerlifting, strongman, swimming, it's always male to female.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you never see the inverse of
it. Maybe it hasn't made the news, maybe it's happened, but if I'll just say Janaea, frequent listener, big fan, incredibly strong. If she wanted to compete in men's, I'm curious if they would be like, yeah, go ahead, because you're not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Mm-hmm. Or if the same things would be brought up.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see that too. I think that would be enough evidence that it's not like an anti-trans thing, because and sorry, Janae's not trans, but I'm saying that like if you no, but what I'm saying is that if there was a competitor who was female to male and wanted to compete with the guys,
yeah,
the odds are very good that they would not do as well as the born men. You know, just whatever, you can call it whatever you want. That's just a fact. And the fact that no one would be like, get this person out of our fucking division, really tells you that it's not about keeping trans people out. It's not about putting up barriers or being exclusive. It's just about making sure that there's a level playing field. And if you want to go in the hardest division, fuck, do it by all means. You know what I mean? Like,
have at it,
right? Like if you as a I've heard before that, like, I don't know if it's the case with Strongman Canada, but like the men's open is technically open to women's too in certain divisions, whether it's weightlifting or something else. I forget what it is.
Yeah.
So if you really have that gumption, like, go ahead and do it. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. And it's just really, it's proof that it's not about keeping people out of things. It's just about making sure that there's I've said this before and I said I didn't want to get too deep into this, but this is just one thing that I want to say is that
I think this is the best opportunity for you and I to have a regular conversation about this. Let's dig deep.
We have these sports, let's say powerlifting too. We have these sports, powerlifting and strongman, where there's just so few opportunities. Like, how many sports are there in the world where the men and the women compete on the same day, on the same playing field, using all the same equipment and the same implements?
Yeah.
You know, for strongman, that might be a little different because of the weights or whatever. But powerlifting specifically, they use all the same shit on the same day, on the same thing.
Yeah.
One right after the other.
Be in the same flight.
Right. They could, exactly. So there's just so few opportunities for women to be able to excel and be seen on that same playing field. And so we say even like in Strongman, like the Shaw women and with the Arnold, the women there are being held on. They're doing their pro shows on the same day with the same equipment as the men.
Yeah.
The women use the same wheel of pain that the men did.
Jeez.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's just such a rare opportunity for women to really be able to excel in whatever. And I just think that it's just worth making sure that everybody is taken care of as much as possible in that situation. And I'm not saying, like I said, kick people out or ban people and this is in no way a judgment call on people's lifestyle choices or whatever it might be. I think that you and me are pretty much on this. I think everybody, even Devin, like everyone who's in this room, I know everyone knows that Devin's a pretty conservative Christian kind of guy, but I do believe that he thinks that in the sort of something of a libertarian sort of mindset where it's do what you want to do to yourself.
Yeah.
I don't pass judgment on anybody who wants to do any things like that. It's just not my business. But once we start talking about sports and stuff and competition, we have to kind of look at it with a little bit of nuance. Let's stop talking about this before we get ourselves in trouble. Let's go something much lighter. Let's talk about the Falcons report, please.
The Falcons report.
I desperately want to get on something else. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I want to talk about something else.
Actually, funny because it can be a good coaching point.
Like I have this new trans player.
Yeah. It can be a good coaching point that we could carry over to the Iron World. We're 5-0.
Nice.
We're averaging over 60 points a game. Up until this weekend, over 4 games, we had given up 40 points. And then this weekend, we gave up 28. And we played against the team, and funny enough, they had 18 players. We have 35. Like, none of the rosters are particularly huge.
Right.
They had 18 players. 4 of their players were girls. They haven't won a game this year. They've been shut out a couple times. So you go in and, I mean, you have to play the game, but we knew we were going to win. Our offense just pours points on at all times, and that just makes you tough to beat.
Right.
Against an under-personed team who's not performing well, you're just so. During the week, we prepared, and then Thursday night, I'm the defensive coordinator, and I took my defense, and I just said, hey, if we do everything that we can do, and you all perform to the levels that you can, there's no reason we can't shut them out.
Right.
It should happen. If we do shut them out, then we're in first place because we're already the league is wins and losses, and then it's points against is the next. And we're up on that by 10 points. So I took the team, and I just tried to motivate them in a way that's just like, if you do your job, we can have a perfect game. You have to do your job. And Portage came out and scored on their first drive. And all my players, we were so flat. And it took the wind out of all their sails. And it didn't really hit me actually until this morning when I'm like watching film and kind of mentally recapping the game. And it's like, I put undue pressure on them to be perfect. I thought it would like hype them up and they're going to come out and be like, yeah, we are going to be that team. And as soon as you face that bit of adversity, 12 and 13-year-olds all of them aren't anyways, mentally equipped to be like, it's like I let coach down, I let myself down, I let the team down.
Right.
And so tonight I have
just the bubble just burst right after that.
Yeah. And I mean, the worst team in the league scored the most points against us this season.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And shout out to Portage, like 18 players in a football game. Yeah. You need 12 on O and 12 on D. Right. So you had 6 kids
just constantly going
playing the entire game.
Yeah, right.
And they had their coaches were great. Ton of heart by the kids.
Like Portage La Prairie?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. I didn't realize it was like out of town, like out of the city stuff too.
I think they're the only out of city team.
Cool.
There's a Steinbach team as well, or the Interlake. But it was a moment for me to reflect as a coach where you're like, that was my fault.
Right.
And I created that environment where the kids got scored on. We've been scored on before, but we've never been completely let down as a team.
Right.
So I have to go in. We've got practice tonight. And Mondays we do like game recap and install. And I have to go in there, and I'm not even installing anything this week. I just have to make a point to own my mistake in front of the team and kind of let these young men see that I'm always on them. You did this, you did that, change this, change that. And this is an opportunity for me to go in and say, hey, you know what, guys? This one's on me.
Absolutely.
We still won. Even when we win other games, I'm not satisfied with you guys. This is a chance for you to see how I'm not satisfied in me.
Yeah.
And then, to carry over to what we mainly talk about on this show is, have you ever had a situation like that where, take any of your athletes, where you're like, you see the competition and you're like, you should be first in every event, and put that pressure on them?
For sure. I mean, I put that pressure on myself.
Well, you and I are both guys that do it to ourselves. Yeah. That's different, though.
It's sort of an interesting thing, but I felt much more pressure going into Manitoba Strongest Man than I felt going into CSM last year.
Yeah.
Because CSM is I do what I do. Mm-hmm. Manitoba Strongest Man is pretty much a must-win situation for me.
Yeah.
But in terms of like my clients, yeah, I would like, so using Dan as an example where he's I would put him at we'll find out at nationals, but I would say he's very near the top of the top amateurs in Canada.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to forget how short of a period he's been doing this. He competes in the competition, a lot of the same competitions that I do.
Yeah.
And then he goes and he excuse me, he's in the same sort of position that I was in a year or maybe 2 years ago, where he's dominating all the local stuff. And then once he goes to these bigger shows, he just gets his ass stomped. And then you have to kind of explain to people, it's like, well, this is like a different level of show. Like you almost just want to stay local and just win competitions your whole career, because people at least understand that. They understand winning, even if they don't understand the different levels.
Totally.
We kind of talked about that a little bit with that Whiplash movie, where it's like the guy's winning D3 football, and that's more impressive than this kid who's playing drums, like the best drummer in the world, because they don't understand it, right?
Yeah.
So that was something that like some people would message me after Dan had a good showing, but not the showing. What am I trying to say here? So he would finish like top of the AM, say he finished top of the amateurs at St. Paul's Farmstrong, and someone was like, "Oh, what was up with Dan? Like he didn't place too well." And I was like, "Well, everybody ahead of him was a pro."
Yeah.
One of the guys ahead of him was a World's Strongest Man competitor. One of the guys ahead of him was won Canada's Strongest Man this year.
Yeah.
One of them was me.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. But it did take a little bit of like a recalibration, I think, on his part and also on my part too, to be like, we need to and he's a very adaptable athlete. He's really smart in that way too, that it didn't take a lot of like explaining or convincing or anything.
He's pretty cerebral.
Yes. To be like, we just need to make sure that when you go to these shows, you're not feeling discouraged, beaten, whatever it might be. Like you are, you're doing things that other guys can't do.
Yeah.
And then you're just not doing what that next tier is doing because you just haven't had the time yet. Or I think about like Mom Loli is an example too, where I have to kind of find different ways to motivate her, because if I try to just do like pushing too hard in the same direction, it doesn't necessarily always work, because there's not like a lot of competition for her.
Yeah.
And then if she's having a bad day, there's nothing for her to measure up against.
Competitions to enter, or competition
people
like weight class and
people in her weight class, people to compete against.
Yeah.
So it's really easy for her to feel like she's having a bad day, or feel like she's having a bad block, or maybe even season, because there's nothing for her to really measure up against. She just automatically gets to go to provincials. She automatically goes to nationals, and then that's where she gets her first real test.
Yeah.
But I have to remind her too that this was sort of like an adjustment that I made, instead of just being like what you kind of said, where it's like, if you do this, we can crush everything and make sure everything's perfect or whatever. I just tell her that like, no matter what you do, you've beaten everybody who isn't here right now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the line that I use for a lot of people, which is that like, if you go to Westerns and you get dead last at Westerns, you beat every other strongman that didn't go to Westerns. Or if you get an invite to a competition, you get dead last there, you beat every other person who wasn't invited to that competition, because you still beat them enough to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when Mama goes to nationals, or like I remember specifically there was somebody who didn't show up to one of the competitions she was supposed to do, and she was very like defeated, because she was like, this was going to be one of the few competitions that I had to be against somebody.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, you beat that person. They weren't prepared. They didn't show up. They didn't compete against you. You prepared and you showed up. You won.
Yeah.
And then you competing and getting good numbers is just the cherry on top of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that like pushing for perfection and whatever was something that I have to kind of like Anna too, like a tall Anna, because she's so new. Like she was invited to Strongest Woman in Canada, but she's just not ready yet. And my mindset was like, just fucking do it anyway. And then she was like, no, I'm not going to. And then I had to kind of like dial my own shit back to be like, it's not about what I think is like the perfect season. It's about what you think is the perfect season, right? So
I would have that same mindset as I have had.
Right.
That same mindset as you. And when you have a client who's a competitor, if their first instinct is that they're not mentally ready, I don't think you can change that.
Listen to them.
Yeah. And if there's any coaches out there, listen to that and adjust. Just because you think that way, your expectations can't be their expectations.
Right.
Because for me, if I got invited to do a competition when I was competing, I wanted that experience. And I'm okay with losing.
Right.
So I just wanted to go have that experience. Yeah, I love winning. Yeah, I prepare to win, and I always expect to win. But if I lose, I can probably pinpoint why. Mm-hmm. Even if it's just, well, it ended up Tyler and I head to head, and nothing I'm going to beat you in right now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But not everyone can handle that.
Right.
And like Nikki, who I've been training for years, it's been like 2 years, and she's just like, she won't even do deadlifts for dreams.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? When you're ready, let me know.
Right.
And it at first was hard to say.
Right.
Because it's like, I can think of 10 good reasons why you should.
Right.
And it's just, those reasons don't matter to her.
Right.
Because she has her own reasons.
That's exactly it. So Gian's the same way too, where she competed in one powerlifting meet. She does our log charity thing. She did deadlift for dreams. But that's all that she's going to do.
Yeah.
Is the charity stuff probably. And even then she kind of is like, I wish I hadn't signed up for this and whatever, until she finally does it, and she's fine. But and that was something that I had to accept. And with her as like a client rather than a partner, was just that it's just not what she wants to do, and it's not going to be fun for her. And she's tried it, so I can't say try it. You know what I mean? And she just didn't like it.
Yeah.
And it's just a weird thing for me to accept that, like, you know, let's say like 9 out of 10 people, when they try something, they'll be like, I fucking love this. Whether it's strongman, powerlifting, something as simple as deadlift for dreams, just something. They're like, I can't wait to do this again next year. She just doesn't have that feeling, and it's like hard for me to sort of like understand that and relate to it. Mm-hmm. But she just doesn't have it, and I have to keep that in mind too. And it goes all the way back to like training with my brother when he was 15 and I was 17 or 18 at Dakota Community Center, and I had to be like, why the fuck don't you want this as badly as I do for you? Yeah. You know what I mean? And it was just like, and it wasn't in his head the same way that it was in mine, and I have to kind of be that same way with clients now and stuff too. Is that you have to remember that it's like, okay, this guy has 2 kids and a wife and a job, and maybe he's not as interested in the gym as I am. You know what I mean? Like, it's just this client who's coming in here now.
Yeah. And I think our whole lives have been competing. Yeah. Like, I started football. Well, I had baseball before football, then football at 10, and football all the way through university, and roll that into bodybuilding, strongman, powerlifting is just all I know is competing.
Right.
It's actually, I'm at a point now, or I had to figure it out, like starting 3 years ago, how do I train without a goal in mind? Mm-hmm. And in many ways, that's more difficult than training for a goal. But because all you and I know is competing, when you get someone that's like, I'm fine without competing, or I don't want to, you're like,
right. It just has a window to yourself.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get how that brain works, and
right.
I'm slowly getting it now. But I think it helps us as coaches. It definitely does. Yeah. But the first couple you encounter, you're just like, oh, are you scared?
Yeah.
Are you?
Let's solve this problem. That's
a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Yet we both constantly bully people into competing.
And that's what I'm saying. It mostly works. So like I have a recipe for success, which is force people to compete.
Yeah.
And like I just did I'm doing a little season recap on the Iron Age Instagram, and we just did like the novice competition, and I look at the people who competed there, and goddamn if a lot of them didn't stay and stick around for the whole season, and I was just really, really happy to see that. So the system works for a lot of people, and then now I just have to be willing to accept that the few that kind of fall at the bottom and don't want to do it, like that's fine too, and and we'll find something else for them to find another reason for them to train, whatever that might be. Like you said, for me, it's I'm the same way too, where I have a really hard time imagining what I will do when I not training for competition. And I have a few ideas in my head. Like I think I'll try to drop to like a really low body fat percentage, or I'll try to I'll probably start doing like a really strict conjugate style where I'll hit like really weird PRs that I've never tried before, like a fucking
weighted GHR.
Yeah, or like an only band deadlift or something. You know, just like stupid.
But that's
shit.
where I'm at now.
Yeah, like just stupid shit that I've never ever tried, so that everything is a PR. And then that'll give me something to chase and do at least, because that's definitely something that's on my mind a lot too.
Yeah.
We had. I just put my fucking phone away. We had a couple questions here that I wanted to. Do you have them there? D?
I do.
B?
Yeah. Okay. So first question.
Okay, go ahead. Let's start with the dumbest and then move.
Okay.
Or skip anything too stupid.
All right. Devin seems to be absent a lot. Was there a falling out?
Short answer, yes. No, he Devin's a busy man. He's got a lot going on. Well, I shouldn't sell any of us short. Well, the four of us are, with us three and our producer, are very busy, and it's really a struggle to get the four of us in a room at the same time together.
4 guys who don't have 9-to-5s.
Right.
That's very difficult to coordinate.
Yes. So we've no, there's no beef, there's no heat, there's no nothing like that. We're just struggling to make it work and doing the best that we can. And maybe next week it'll be me and Devin, or Devin and Beeks, or maybe it'll just be an empty room with none of us here, and we'll
just have Dolly standing on the table and have more views than ever.
That would be huge. That would be huge. Yeah. Another one for us there, B?
I heard Justin Trudeau is coming to nationals. Is that true?
Can't confirm or deny. I have heard that same rumor though. I was gonna make a joke, but I won't actually. To our earlier content, but I won't do that.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, we're gonna have a dunk tank there for Justin Trudeau. So look forward to that.
What does the next month look like for you, for either of you?
Training wise?
Yeah.
Beeks?
With the lead up to Deadlifts for Dreams and the heavy football schedule, and I think the start of NFL, I was a little loosey-goosey with my diet. I'm still under 220, which I'm happy about, but I was teetering at 210. And then Nachos and Whiskeys just kept calling my name. Did a golf tournament and sponsored by Boston Pizza, and there's free pizza there. And we went to Boston Pizza after, and there's free pizza and burgers there.
I mean, you're not going to turn that down.
How?
There's just no
right?
way. Boston Pizza too.
So as far as training goes, training will remain the same. Lots of cardio and mobility, and then I've actually gone into like an isometric eccentric phase, and again, it's finding things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, I'm doing pin squats, so I set it up in my floating ribs. I get it up, and I have to hold for 15, then lower for 15.
Oh wow, that's brutal.
And 3 sets of that, like 3 sets of 1 with that. My legs are cooked, and I'll do like GHR back extension, and that's my day.
Nice.
So that's gonna be my focus. Weighted dips for upper body, weighted chin ups for my back, and then just the mobility and just getting my diet back on track.
Whenever we would have
boring.
That's what it is though, right? It's the boring stuff that works.
Yeah.
Whenever we'd have American wrestlers up, Boston Pizza was like very often like a very easy spot that you go afterwards.
Recognizable.
Yeah, not to them because it's a Canadian brand, and
they
would be like they'd be so baffled. They'd be like, "Do you think Boston has good pizza or something?
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck did you call it Boston Pizza?"
Yeah,
they're so confused by that, and I was like, I never really thought about it.
I actually know the answer to that.
Oh,
you do?
Yeah, the guy who started Boston Pizza loved the Bruins.
Oh, simple as that.
That's
wow.
it.
Okay, I'll take that as a good answer then. For my own training for the next month.
Sorry, when's Cuba?
Cuba is November 17th, I think.
Okay, so like 6 weeks.
Yeah, so it's 2 days. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not really gearing my training too much towards that. Like I'm on an off-season cycle right now, training cycle right now that I'm going to just continue on with. I'm gonna throw in a little bit of bench just so I'm not totally rusty with that.
Yeah,
and a little bit of throwing maybe.
Work on your arch.
Yeah, absolutely. Hit a nice fucking peak, and then. In 6 weeks, I want to give, which is a little more than a month, I know, but 6 weeks, I want to give 800 a crack on the deadlift, I think that it could be there. I hit 735 for a 1-inch deficit for, let's say like an 8 out of 10 difficulty kind of. So I think it could be there. So I'm going to find out.
77 was pretty. 777 at Deadlifts for Dreams was pretty smooth.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with how that one went. And so I'm going to try to, like, I have to hit a heavy deadlift next week. I'm going to go for like 780, maybe 785, just to kind of like give that a nice round number. And then in 4 weeks or 5 weeks after that, I cycle it back in again, and I'll try again. But aside from that, like I'm in this really fun phase right now where I'm doing like mostly conjugate style. Like I've been doing a ton of volume work, so this is like a really nice mental break.
Yeah,
we're just working up to heavy singles or doubles.
Yeah,
and it's fun, and I like it. And I'm also trying to hammer my log and my grip a lot because there were 2 events that sort of failed me at Westerns. I failed them at Westerns. My grip failed me, so I'm going to work on that and come back with a more complete package next season for that kind of stuff because. That was a real bummer for me that I couldn't come back from. Was just a shit grip event, so I don't want to have that happen again. What's next there, B?
Okay, what are the pros and cons of intermittent fasting?
Have you ever done it?
Grocery bill.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I do it.
You do?
I don't eat any day until around 12 or 1.
Why?
I don't like eating in the morning.
You just don't. Okay, so it's more.
If it didn't have a name and it wasn't popular, I'd still do it.
Right.
So many diets and for years of trying to gain weight, you can't have that window. You have to eat. So
I love
much.
to not eat. By the way, like it's a weird thing that people don't really understand. But if I could have dinner and that's it. That's the way my dad eats. He has nothing all day until dinner, and then it'll have like a bowl of ice cream or something before bed, and that's like his whole fucking day of eating.
What was that, carb backloading?
Yes,
exactly.
That's what he's doing. And then he's having intermittent carbs throughout the day with Bud Lights. And then I love to just like sit and be like, say like after a competition and be like, fuck it, I'm gonna treat myself and just not eat this next meal. And people who haven't tried to gain weight might not understand that.
But I'm up at 5. My coffee's ready by 5:45. Pot of coffee. Clients from 7 until either 10 or 11. Come home, have another pot of coffee, and get my writing done, or work on my writing, and then I'll eat kind of between 12 and 1, never before 12. And then with football now, it's like a tricky schedule because I have a couple afternoon clients and whatnot. But I'll try to eat again around like 6, and then I'll have a protein shake at like 8, and that's my day.
That's the day.
Yeah.
Very jealous of that.
Right?
Yeah. So for, I mean, I guess like when someone asks a question, so what, can you repeat the wording of the question one more time?
What are the pros and cons of intermittent fasting?
Okay. So the pros are legitimately that you'll spend less money on food because you'll be eating less food.
Yeah.
The pros
which lowers your calories in.
Right. Which is like, that's the next pro is that you will likely lose weight on it, but it's not because you're doing intermittent fasting. It's because you're in a caloric deficit because you're giving yourself less time to eat in the day, so you're going to eat less. If I said you have 1 hour to eat, then like let's look at like a really extreme version of intermittent fasting, which would be like you have 1 hour to eat as much as you can. You're not going to be able to get as much food in as you'd be able to get in over 12 hours, even if you're sitting there actively like jamming your face with food. So the long and short of it is that any diet that's successful can be like that diet equals caloric deficit. That's all it is. It's nothing. It's nothing fancier or like it's, I hear a lot about like resensitizing your whatever hormones and blah 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 and that kind of shit. And like I don't know, maybe I haven't seen a lot of stuff that really backs that up, but maybe
the thing is too. If you're intermittent fasting, but when you're eating shit,
right,
you're doing yourself a real big disservice.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of the people, whether it's keto or intermittent fasting or whatever the diet is. The success of the diet is that you're more mindful of what you're putting in your body.
That's exactly right.
So whether you eat at 8 a.m. and have 3 square meals, or you have 5 meals a day, or you have 2 meals a day, if whatever you're doing has the word diet attached to it, in all likelihood, you're eating cleaner foods. You're eating out less or less restaurant eating.
Just being mindful. Mindful
eating,
right? Like that's a kind of a corny term, but that's what it is though. Like
people always overlook that. It's because I'm eating in my window. No, it's not. No, I'm doing keto and I'm producing ketones and burning fat cells. No, it's not. You're you're eating like steak, chicken, and cheese, or
Right.
however people
Or
fill
you're
it.
doing it, yeah.
And you're not crushing chips, like a family-sized bag of chips, while you watch TV from 9 till 11. But it's always overlooked. Like,
You're not having pizza on Friday. You're not having whatever. Yeah.
I've had a lot of success with keto, and I always hate talking about it because people want to know about it or think they know a ton about it and want to talk about it. And it's like, well, all your facts are wrong.
Right.
Or people that say they do it, and you're like, I just saw you crush a chocolate bar, or even a Cliff bar will take you out, but they think it's, you know.
Yeah.
And so I never really like talking about what I'm doing, and then people try to attach names to it. It's just I eat how it works for me.
Yeah.
And that's all that I do.
Right.
So things come and go. The only diet I did, and it was out of curiosity, like I'm going to stick to this diet just because I'm curious about it, was the snake diet.
What is that?
So it's hilarious.
Lays down beside it and measures it out.
It's really hilarious. The guy who presents it is one of the most obnoxious people
Naturally.
in the human on our flat Earth. But it starts with a 24-hour fast.
Okay.
Then you have a meal.
Okay.
And you have like a kind of keto-based meal.
Okay.
Then you do a 48-hour fast.
Oh my goodness.
Then you have another keto-based meal. Then you do a 72-hour fast. Then
3
you have
days,
another
you don't
meal. 3 days.
Holy fuck.
And you're literally you just have water and pink Himalayan salt.
Have you done this?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
And no part of it. So I got to 72 meal, and then I was like, okay, I did it. I can just say I did it.
Okay. You're probably fucking pretty ripped after that one. Like, if your abs were probably showing and stuff.
If you stuck with it,
yeah,
for sure.
But you'd be like Jesus on the cross ripped.
Yeah,
like, you'd be
exactly.
very emaciated.
Yeah.
But you would look probably kind of cool.
Yeah, and it was just kind of funny. And doing a 3-day fast was the only positive I got out of it was realizing that a lot of times that I eat was more mental than hunger. You're like, it's 5 p.m. I should have a meal. And if you take a step back and you're like, I'm not even hungry.
Right.
And then how often do I eat when I'm not hungry?
Right.
And if you're looking for like a body composition change, being mindful of that helps. But outside of that, it's pretty stupid. But I'm always down to do something
Try
stupid.
something. Why not?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, it's not like you went into it with the expectations of like this was going to change my life or anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess kind of to put a cap on the intermediate fasting question would be like, don't major in the minors. Like, don't if you're somebody who's like you, like where it's like you've been through the whole ringer, you found something that happens to have a name, happens to be called intermittent fasting. It's just whatever. It's just the way you like to eat.
Yeah.
And if it works for you, then okay, cool. But if you're somebody, like, I don't know who asked that question, but if it's somebody who's involved with strength sports, wouldn't recommend it. If you're an athlete, wouldn't recommend it. If you're somebody who's just trying to get used to the idea of getting into a proper, if you're trying to get used to the idea of like eating properly and getting an exercise schedule and stuff, wouldn't really recommend it because it's just like I said, you're going for something that's not really going to be. You're thinking of a short-term plan rather than making a long-term change. Me and Swint just had an hour-long conversation with this to my mom that was like really a good test of like explaining these things to a normal person. You know what I mean? I'll say that it was really, and I'm happy to say that we broke down a lot of very strange misconceptions she had about diet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, just like I said, don't major in the minors. Think about the big stuff before you worry about small stuff like what name your diet has.
Yeah.
Do arms really require a dedicated day, or can it be interspersed throughout your leg, shoulder, et cetera, days?
I don't know. You tell me.
Oh
No, I mean it's again. Who asked that? Is it a competitor? Do you know who it is?
no.
Okay, so let's say it's
I'm actually curious about your answer because I've always had a strong stance on this.
Short answer is no. Long answer is no. If you're a strength athlete, and you're not worried about your arms hypertrophy as much as you're worried about maybe the strength, like the endurance of your biceps, the strength of your triceps, things like that. And then hypertrophy just tends to kind of come with those things.
Yeah.
If you're a bodybuilder, probably. If you're a regular guy who wants big arms, probably.
If you're a very high level bodybuilder,
right?
These guys that are like, oh, I do like unilateral biceps curls because you can contract more fibers.
Right.
You're not strong enough for that to matter.
Right.
You know, if you're on stage at the Arnold,
you don't have the mind muscle connection to care about those kinds of things.
But if you're Johnny Gym Goer in Winnipeg and you just want to look sweet,
if you think that doing arms is fun and you like having an arm day, then I think you should do it.
Yeah. I find it the biggest waste of time.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't program it for any of my clients.
I do for my older guys because they just.
But if they
think they're sweet after.
If they like it, then that's different. And if one of my clients came to me and said specifically, it's like, yeah, I'd like to get a little more arm work in. I'd like to have a dedicated arm day. I would say, okay, well, this is why I don't normally do it, but if you would like me to do it, then I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
So at least I can tell them why, and if they're like, yeah, I don't really care, then I'm like, great, then let's do it.
Yeah.
But I find that most people, you get enough work, you get enough incidental work through pushing, pulling, and then throwing a couple of dedicated isolation exercises afterwards at the end of an upper day.
If your bench goes up 50 to 100 pounds, and your accessory work is dumbbell presses and push-ups, and you finish with tricep press downs or some variation of triceps, I guarantee your arms will grow. Just get stronger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, because I don't really necessarily do like a typical bodybuilding split, even with my hypertrophy clients. Like I don't have them doing like
it's the worst split.
No, like legs and arms and then shoulders and whatever. Like I typically still do like an upper lower and then try to hit a couple, several sets of a few exercises for each muscle group and that seems to do the job for most of them. So I wouldn't. Short answer,
no.
It's
boring, man.
And it's boring.
It's
for my money, it's so boring. Yeah.
Like a single joint movement for an hour to 90 minutes.
Yeah. And you can do all the variations you want, but you're still just doing this.
Yeah.
And you're still just doing this.
Yeah.
You can vary it and get creative and get clever you want, but yeah, exactly. Just double dong it and you'll take care of that in your own time.
Yeah. And the thing is part of that question was there's nothing wrong with you finish your leg day and rip 100 press downs.
Right.
Chin ups and heavy pressing I think go way further for arm hypertrophy than dedicated arm work.
Right on. Before I go into my next question, that was totally my question, and I want to know. He's
so sad now.
Are you happy with the answer or no?
That's kind of what I was expecting.
Yeah,
because I also hate arm day.
Right.
I think it's silly. And I hate doing them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Especially if you're. I'll say too that if you're like, because you train in your garage, right?
I do, yeah.
So if you have limited access to equipment and stuff, fuck, is that going to be a boring workout?
Yes.
If you have all the machines and all the cables and all the handles and attachments, you can at least vary it and make it exciting. But if you're just doing barbell, reverse grip barbell, chin eccentrics or whatever stuff you can do for your biceps, like you're gonna get a really boring workout and you're gonna get very repetitive. So
yes. Yeah. All right. Is powerlifting on the decline in the world of strength sports?
No.
I don't think so. I think that specific parts of it are like you don't see geared lifting. Nobody really gives a shit about that anymore. I don't think
geared lifting always goes in phases.
Yeah,
there'll be a 17-ply shirt soon, and someone will bench 2,400 pounds, right. And everyone will be doing that. You know what I mean? And it'll be the talk. But there was a big movement back to. Total blank right now. Where's the karaoke button?
Friends in low places. Go.
Yeah. Blame it all on my roots. Raw. Like, there's geared lifting is cheating. Well, it's not because it's in its own class.
It's its own thing, yeah.
Like if
there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what geared lifting even is.
Yeah.
Like if you I'm sure I fail to think of a really, really direct example, but let's use hunting as an example. If you're a bow hunter or if you use a rifle, well, is the rifle cheating because you can shoot farther than the bow?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just two different things. It's not comparable, and you shouldn't try because it's a boring argument.
Yeah. But all in all, I think the sport's as big as ever. And if you just look at if you just look at Manitoba alone, it's huge right now. Every gym has a powerlifting section.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine that even 10 years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Every gym's got calibrated plates. Every gym's got, a deadlift bar and the move from, and this is already years ago now, but the move from geared to raw lifting made it way more accessible to people. They made it so that the average Joe can just have the equipment in his garage, like a Or boy
Your
Beezy over
typical
here.
idiot.
Yeah, you're a typical dumb moron. And you can just do it on your own. And it's become this incredibly accessible thing, which is like great. Like which it's accessible in a way that strongman probably never really can be, because strongman you just need more equipment. And that's I would say it's bigger now than like even when I started with you guys, like I was 2012 or 13 I started with you guys there. Yeah, which is crazy. But it was like I didn't know anything about powerlifting when I got there.
Yeah.
And I think that the average gym goer now has a pretty good idea of maybe not who lifters are or anything, but like they know like what the 3 lifts are, they know what the rules are, they understand. Like when they look at powerlifting, they're like, oh yeah, this is powerlifting.
You powerlift? Is that the one where you go?
Yeah, I get that for strongman. Oh, you're like a powerlifter, right? And I always say yes. If they say powerlifting, I just say yes because it's just close enough. Who gives a fuck? But if they say bodybuilding, I say no, because not because I have anything wrong with bodybuilding, but I was like, if you think that I'm a bodybuilder, then you think that I'm a fucking shitty bodybuilder, and I will not accept that. So I'm
off season for 10 years, baby.
I looked at that picture of Jay Cutler where he's like all like fat and eating whatever, and I was like, I will not accept that you think that I'm a bad bodybuilder. You can think that I'm a big fat powerlifter, but not a bad bodybuilder.
It's funny. There's a buzz around the football team that typical kids, you meet someone new, and you know all the other coaches they knew already, and I come in and whatnot. So all the kids, you know, you get on the internet and find out who this guy is, and then middle of week 1, it's just, oh, Dave's a professional bodybuilder. I saw his videos on YouTube.
IFBB Pro, Dave Eakley.
Show me a bodybuilder pulling trucks and flipping tires and benching in competition.
That's funny.
But just like even the other coaches were, yeah, my kid showed me the video. I didn't know you're a bodybuilder, and you're like.
It's
saying
crazy.
is easier than explaining the differences.
Absolutely.
So you're like, yeah, you know, another version of me did that.
Yeah, a lifetime ago.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
Any more there, BZ?
We got one more. I probably should have put this one earlier, but what is the minimum you can train and still make gains?
I was expecting something dumb when you said I should.
I thought because I said rate it from dumbest to less dumb. So
yeah,
that question just I've seen it come up a lot in a variety of different. So I figured I'd.
Beast, do you have thoughts on that?
Part of it I think depends on your training age, and part of it depends on your real age. If your training age is in that like 0 to 3 years, 2 times a week, 3 times a week is plenty. If you're weak, anything makes you stronger.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And those are people that I like to do like a good like GBC split. So if you're only training 2 or 3 times a week, I'm going to hit upper and lower every session.
Right.
And you don't have to bury them, especially in legs, because that's, you know, I got to walk to work or whatever.
Yeah.
And even that, you can train at way lower percentages and still elicit really good results. Mm-hmm. If you're Tyler, you're not going to CSM if you're training 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And now I find, just as I'm, you know, speed racing through my 40s, if I hit the weights decently 3 times a week, I can maintain what I have. I have less top sets. Mm-hmm. Like I'll, you know, used to have days of 6x3 and 5x5 and all those different. And now I'm like, I get to a top set of 3, 1 rep short of failure, and I'm like, I'm exhausted.
Right.
And I'll go on to other accessory movements, and every week I get stronger.
Right.
And so I hope that makes sense, but training age first. And secondly is just as you get older, you don't need as much work. You need more recovery.
Yeah, I would generally say that twice a week is like as low as you'd want to go. I think that like there's always outliers, there's always things that you can do, and there's all, you know, whatever. But like if you're there's always like the caveat of like, well, it depends. Like, what are you trying to do? Like if you're trying to get to the top level of some athletic endeavor, twice a week's probably not going to cut it. The same way that if you're trying to be a pro figure skater, twice a week on the ice probably isn't going to cut it. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to be a little more dedicated than that. But if you're just a normal person who's trying to get, like you said, who's new to the gym, or if you're like, this is just what I can fit into my schedule is twice a week, realistically, you are going to see progress and you are going to see gains from twice a week. I fucking wish I could remember the name. There was a story, and this is like a little bit of anecdotal evidence that you could do less than twice a week and still improve. But there was a guy from Westside who was a trucker.
Oh shit!
I can't remember his fucking name, but there was a guy from Westside who was a trucker, and he would only be in Columbus one day of the week.
Yeah.
And he would go to Westside and hit everything in one day.
Yeah.
And he was like a world champ. Like he or set records or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And he would train once a week and sit in the truck for the rest of the week.
Face and I can't think of his...
I wish I could think of it, but that's just a cool. There's always a way to make something work and whatever. Like that's like I said, like that might be an extreme example, and not everyone's going to be the top example that you can give in something like that. But it can be done with any amount of time.
Okay, well, the last question, we're at an hour mark now, but the last question, I saved the most intelligent one for last. Will Devin ever repair his relationship with Banana Boat?
I saw that, and I didn't know...
I don't think that Devin's ever seen a banana that he wouldn't fall in love with.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, probably. Every time that I eat a banana, Devin's just like, he just stares at it. You've never seen anything like it in your life. He's like drooling, and it's so weird.
Did we talk about something?
With his eyes.
What's that?
Did we talk about something about Banana Boat?
Well, it's his favorite ice cream place, and with his diet, he hasn't been able to.
Oh, because of his diet.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I never think of him dieting because he doesn't look like it. So, I'm gonna say there's secret trips that his wife and his friends don't know about.
One time when I was with Devin, it was just me and him in his gym, and he went to the back area and he pulled out like a whole. What's that?
He and I.
He pulled out a whole like a bundle of bananas, and just one at a time he just started peeling them and just like the whole thing. I've never seen anything like it before in my life. And he pulled out. So he had these bananas, and he was like, he looked right at me, and I was like, "What are you doing with those?" And he was just like, "I've been waiting all day for this." And then he just started pounding them one at a time,
funny.
no biting. It was crazy. I've never seen anything like it before in my life.
That's so funny.
He
likes them nice and green, so they're firm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were hard to peel, and like
Tyler, you want the brown one?
he would peel it, and he would just like follow it down with his eyes, and it was crazy.
Before we go, good hour.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I had fun with this.
Shout out to Maya Turner of the Manitoba Bisons football team. First female in Canadian football to score points in a game.
Cool.
2 for 2 on field goals and 3 for 3 on converts.
Somebody told me that there was a female kicker for the U of M Bisons, and I was like, I think you might have that wrong, but I'm not going to call you out on it. But that's fucking amazing. Cool.
2 for 2 on field goals. I believe she kicked the game winner in overtime.
Amazing.
At homecoming weekend. It was like the perfect storm and awesome for her. Former soccer player. Just kind of was like looking for something else to do. She's playing collegiate soccer.
Amazing.
And put together just one of these like done on my iPhone pro day type. Here's me kicking, and Brian Saar, Coach Dobie, brought her in for a tryout, and she was like shot for shot with their kicker who was just running out of eligibility.
Right.
And came in this weekend, and heck, any kicker would be proud of going 100% on converts and field goals.
Shit.
But good for her. That's something that could never be undone.
No.
And good for the Bisons for giving her a chance.
Absolutely. Congratulations. You said Maya Turner was her name?
Maya Turner.
Congratulations to Maya Turner. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of women excelling in sports, October 20th, we have Strongest Woman in Canada right here in Winnipeg at the Minto Armory.
Jeez, that was a smooth transition.
Thank you.
That was great.
October 21st, we have Amateur Nationals, which will feature the best amateur athletes from men and women from across Canada. We have a couple of teens competing in that one too, which I'm really excited to see. We have teen guys and teen girls that are competing in it, which is really exciting to see some new, so like the newest and freshest of faces coming up. And then on October 22nd, we have our Record Breakers events with the max log, max deadlift, and max sandbag throw for height. We got a bunch of
Iron Age or
Strongman Corp. Strongman Corp.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Still, another national event still. And we got a bunch of people from our gym, from both training grounds, I believe, and Iron Age doing the Record Breakers event. Like Thrones is getting in on that, and a few guys from Brandon and stuff too. So I'm really excited to see the local boys really turn out for that one. So if you need tickets, please contact me, Devin, Strong and Petty, Strong Manitoba, Strongman Corp Canada. There's a million options, so don't.
We'll
Don't
post
fuck
Brett
around,
James'
right?
phone number on Instagram.
Absolutely.
You can text him for tickets.
Yeah, we'll put Devin's postal code and send number and stuff
You'll
up
get
there.
so many dick pics.
And with that, the two realest members of Strong and Petty here. Thanks, guys.